All right, so we're gonna talk about throwing a little knob onto a lid. So I have my lid all made. It is all nice and clean. It is trimmed. It's exactly how I want it. So I'm going to put this onto my Giffin Grip, and I'm gonna grab a clay chunk that is, I don't know, about the size of the knob that you want. When I put these clay blobs on, I like to kind of put them into a teardrop shape to start. It just makes everything a little bit easier. Okay, now I want to get a nice flat bottom so that it goes on top of there, okay? I'm going to score the top of my piece where that little knob's gonna go. I'm gonna score this guy. Okay, I'm gonna add just a touch of water, so we're kind of scoring and slipping like normal. All right, now I'm gonna put this on there. I'm gonna kind of get it into as much of a shape as I can to start here. Because what you're gonna have to do is you're gonna have to actually kind of attach it, center it, and create it all on here. All right, so I put this on here and I'm pressing it down. I slipped and scored it on. I'm gonna get everything wet, and it's a lot of finger work. So I'm just trying to go in, I'm trying to kind of like center that little blob of clay on here as best I can using my fingers. So the more you have this kind of centered on here, the better. Press here. You can certainly use tools too if you need to. I kind of just like using my fingers for now. Don't be afraid if some of your clay comes off. If it's a little wonky and uneven to start, you'll be able to clean all that up. My clay is kind of like skirting out here, so I'm gonna go in with just a little trimming tool just to like clean that up a little bit. Sometimes it gets a little tricky working around the Giffin Grip. And you don't have to use the Giffin Grip. You can do clay on the edges too. If these stick up too high, you can. Sometimes your fingers work great and sometimes you just need a little tool in there. Okay, so now that I have my clay kind of mostly centered on here, I get to start shaping my knob. You can shape your knob however you want. You do need to think about that you want a neck. So like, get this off here real quick. My hands are really wet. Okay. You want an area that goes in here and then gets wider at the top. If this is too same, it becomes hard to actually pick it up, or if it's too shallow and narrow. So if I put this back on here, I'm gonna try to create a neck that goes in more. So I'm just gonna apply a little bit of pressure on the outside. So I'm just kind of squeezing. And then I'm gonna kind of shape. And you can do this with fingers, you can do this with tools. It's a lot of tiny little detail work. I want that to be just a little more narrow, so I have like a nice knob that sits on there. And you can have a knob that's big, you can have a knob that's small. I feel like I want to use a little trimming tool just to define this a little bit. Don't be afraid of using those little trimming tools. They just work really, really nice to be able to get your shape a little bit cleaner. You can also let things get leather hard and then trim it off. If your knob is too big, it will look a little funny. If it's too small, it might look a little funny. Play around with it a little bit. And I'm just trimming with soft clay here. If you're doing that and it's frustrating, you can totally use a heat gun and firm everything up too. You can have it round, you can have it more geometric. I'll show you from the side what this ends up looking like. So I'm just kind of actively going in with my tools and my fingers. All right. Clean that up a little bit. I want that just a little bit flatter. Pressing, smoothing. So it's a lot of teeny little finger work. And it can be whatever sort of shape you want. You can have it more triangle, you can have it more round. So once you're happy with it, just like always, you're gonna take a little damp sponge and clean it up. If there was something that you were like, oh, I hate this part, I need this just a little more leather hard, you can stick it in your cabinet. You can trim it just a little bit more with some tools the next day. Or you could do a heat gun if you don't want to wait for it. I want to cinch this in just a touch more. Be picky with it. This is like the top part. People are gonna notice this part. So don't rush it, because you've done such a nice job on everything else that if your knob looks wonky, people will see it. All right, so if I take this off, I'll show you what I came up with here. My final knob looks something like that. So I have this area where my fingers will be able to grab around it. And so if I put this on my piece, here is my, let me zoom you out here. Finished little lidded piece, something like that.